You're listening to Motherhood in Between, the show for moms who want to rebuild their bodies, reclaim their energy, and keep pursuing the lives they're called to during the season between babies. I'm your host, Lauran Saunders, registered dietitian, mom of 2 and counting, and founder of Nourished Moms Collective. I help moms recover from their last pregnancy, prepare for their next one, and support their bodies and ambitions in the in-between season of motherhood. Because motherhood shouldn't mean depletion, and your dreams don't disappear when you become a mom. So whether you're rebuilding your health, rediscovering your identity, or growing something meaningful alongside your family, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Have you ever been stuck in a comparison trap where you are scrolling on social media and you see everyone's perfect home, perfect garden, perfect children, perfectly put away laundry room, and then you see a stay-at-home mom who's working 2 hours a week, making $10K passively, and is supporting her family or helping to support her family? Seeing stuff like that is really discouraging, I think, for all of us, whether you're a working mom or a stay-at-home mom or a mix of something in between. And part of what I want to talk about today is building a business or building something outside of motherhood, but doing it in between nap times and being able to pursue your own ambitions without the mom guilt, without the comparison, and in a way that is really meaningful for you as yourself, not you as mom, not you as a wife, but something that's meaningful for you. If you are someone who is in the thick of building a business or building something outside of motherhood, or you're wanting to, but you're seeing so many things that you're just comparing yourself to all over social media, that is really discouraging. And so I hope that this episode today can shed a little bit of light into that. And as I share my own experience building my business in between babies on what can actually be done and how it doesn't have to be really discouraging to see everyone doing all the things. I think very often ambition and motherhood get framed as opposites. And I think that's a lie that often keeps moms stuck feeling guilty instead of actually pursuing something that's going to make them happy. And like I said, this doesn't just have to be building a business. It can be if you're a working mom, if you're in corporate, or if you work for a company and you're trying to scale that ladder. It could be in that regard. It could also be if you are a stay-at-home mom and you want to be the PTA president and you're trying to cultivate relationships with the school or with the neighborhood. It can be something like that. And it often seems as a society, if you are working at all as a mom, then who's taking care of your kids? And if you are just being a mom, then why aren't you helping to contribute to your family? And there is nothing wrong right way, one way or the other. In fact, next week's episode, I'm actually going to talk about the nuances between being a working mom and a stay-at-home mom. But what I'm saying is that you should not feel like your ambition has to be completely separate from motherhood, because they are not opposites. They're not opposing forces. And it shouldn't be something that is giving you a lot of guilt in your current situation. And I think this is also where having a regulated nervous system is not just nice to have, but it is like literally the infrastructure that's going to help you build something meaningful in between nap times, in between raising babies, without falling apart, without falling into the guilt trap or the comparison trap, or giving up because things start to feel hard after you're in it for 6 months. Being able to be a regulated mom, but also just a regulated woman in yourself is going to help you tenfold in every single area of your life. I want to talk about how your nervous system is your business foundation, or is your foundation in ambition and motherhood. Your body cannot tell the difference between your toddler having a meltdown and you trying to hit a deadline in your business or your work. Your body just knows that all of that is stress, and we're going to go into fight or flight, and we're going to have a really hard time regulating out of it. And if you're trying to create something while you're in this dysregulated state, if you're trying to, I'll just use the example of like in my own business, if you're trying to create new offers or trying to serve clients day in and day out, and you're so dysregulated, which I have most certainly been there. You're literally building from survival mode and not creativity. And it doesn't feel very good. And that's where you start to feel really burnt out. Even if you technically love what you're doing, you can start to feel really burnt out from that. And on the flip side, in motherhood as well, if you are super dysregulated in how you are building your family or building your day-to-day activities with your kids, you're going to feel really burnt out in motherhood because you are just stuck in this survival mode. I've shared a little bit of my own nervous system regulation journey before, but I've always been more of a little type A, kind of that overachiever type personality, more so where I would be hard on myself if I wasn't getting straight A's, if I wasn't, top of the class doing all the things. And I kind of felt like that didn't follow me into adulthood and motherhood. However, it most certainly did. If I'm going to be so honest, it most certainly did. And I think it's part of my personality. And if you identify like that, there is nothing wrong with it. I will say that there's nothing wrong with it. However, if you are living in that super dysregulated state and it's starting to impact everything, then there's something wrong with it. And I truly didn't really recognize it until after I had my second baby. I ran my own mineral test, and I've shared before how it was the worst mineral test that I had ever seen, and it continued to be the worst one that I'd seen for the next 6 months. And the thing with mineral tests is that, yes, it shows us your minerals, but a huge part of that is it shows how your minerals are supporting or not supporting your stress response and your adrenal health. And you can literally see on paper how stressed out and taxed your body is based on your mineral reserves. And for me, it took seeing that on paper to realize, oh, I actually do feel quite burnt out. I actually do feel really exhausted day in and day out. I'm not having a joyful time in my business. I'm barely having a joyful time raising my children because I just felt so stressed out and burnt out. So at that point is when I hired a nervous system coach, specifically a nervous system coach that helped female founders and business owners, because that was the biggest piece that was weighing heaviest on me was my business. And now I had 2 kids. I had a baby, I had a toddler, and trying to balance my business with the adjustment of having 2 kids was not going over very well for me. I lost a lot of zeal and a lot of passion for my business. I still loved the clients that I was serving, but I wasn't getting very many at the time, and it was really stressing me out. And I don't think I've really shared this before. While we technically can live off of my husband's income, it does not leave room for much else. And we want to have a bigger home. We want space for our kids to grow into, to play, run around. And I had to work. I have to work in order to support our family and the lifestyle that we want. And I know many moms are in that same boat too. And in the next episode, I am going to dive in a little bit more with that. But when I started working with that nervous system coach and started learning how to recognize the dysregulation, because like I said, I thought I was handling things really well. I didn't think that overachiever personality followed me into motherhood, and it most certainly did. Being able to recognize the signs before they blew up in my face was huge for me. And things started to feel a lot easier in my business and in my family life. And this is where I joked with my husband that I could totally handle 10 kids if I just kept up on my nervous system capacity. And if you know that you want to have more kids, maybe not 10. I'm pregnant with baby number 3. I'm pretty sure I want to have 4. I absolutely understand the value of nervous system regulation to help me do that and to be a nice mom, be the kind of mom that I want to be, the present mom that I want to be, and be able to hold my ambitions outside of motherhood and not fall into that guilt or comparison trap. If you're wondering where to even start with nervous system regulation, I just want you to start with incorporating one intentional regulation break into your day. Ideally, if you're working, try to incorporate it into the work portion of your day and into the mom portion of your day. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, I want you to be incorporating something in the morning and something in the afternoon to break up the day a little bit and to send that signal of safety to your body that we are okay. We're not being chased by a bear. It might just be a toddler meltdown. It might just be a work deadline, but we're okay. One thing that I actually loved to do back when I worked at the hospital, I still like to do it now, and it's even great if you are a mom just home with your kiddos all day, is to go for a quick little walk. And it doesn't have to be 20 minutes. You could go for a 5-minute walk, put your phone down, take your earphones out, just walk, let your mind wander, breathe, and that can be a nice little reset for your body and your nervous system. I will also say this is one thing that has helped me in particular, and if you are someone who works from home or you're trying to get stuff done while you are home with your kids, you need to have clear boundaries on when you are working. And this is something that I really didn't implement until the last year, because it sounds so great that you can work from home and you have a flexible schedule, so you can wake up before the kids, you can get stuff done during nap time, you can get stuff done after the kids go to sleep. It sounds so great and wonderful until you've been doing that day in and day out for years, and you truly don't have any time for yourself because you are constantly in mom mode or work mode, or you're trying to start a task with work and then your toddler wakes up and then you're back and forth and all around. And I will say sometimes that is absolutely necessary, and it is a huge blessing to be able to work from home and to have that flexible schedule where you can do that if something happens, or if a kiddo is sick and you have to be more present with them all day. It is a blessing to be able to have that flexible schedule. And for myself, I noticed that my brain never shut off. I was constantly thinking about work when I was with the kids, and I was thinking about the kids when I was trying to get work done. So this last year, I've been really intentional with not throwing myself into work mode as soon as I wake up. Even if I am up and I have an hour before the kids get up, I try my hardest to not work. One caveat was that we were going on vacation and I had to get a few things done so I could enjoy the vacation. But overall, my nervous system is so much happier when I'm not thrown into work mode first thing in the morning, or when I don't stay up 2 hours after my kids go to sleep staring at my computer screen. I have really strict boundaries on when I'm working. My husband has Mondays off, so on Mondays I have about a 4-hour block where I get stuff done. And then my mother-in-law watches the kids once a week. And so on Wednesdays I have about 6 hours where I get stuff done. And I am a much nicer mom and a much more regulated business owner and dietitian and nutrition coach when I'm sticking to my own boundaries. And of course, that's going to look different for everyone based on the type of work that you're doing, what you're building, or what you are curating. But I highly encourage you to set some boundaries for yourself and see how your nervous system feels when you do that, especially if you are noticing that you're starting to feel really burnt out with this wonderful job that you prayed for, to have this job where you could be flexible and you could be home, and now you're starting to feel some resentment towards it. I want you to assess, where are your boundaries and where could they be? Another point that I really want to talk about, because it's just been on my mind a lot lately, is that comparison trap. If you are scrolling social media and you see that stay-at-home mom making $5,000 a month of passive income, doing virtually nothing, I just want to say that's usually a lie. Because even if that were the case, they probably spent months or years hustling to get to that point, and almost nothing is ever actually truly passive. There is usually always a lot of work that went into it beforehand, and a lot of work that it takes to maintain. And it might be a lot easier work, but there is always something that is happening, and it's not completely passive. And I think that's really discouraging, especially when you see so many stay-at-home mommy influencers who seem to be just going out and about all throughout their day, and they're recording it. Yes, that recording takes work. That editing takes a lot of work as well. And is that easier than getting up to go to a hospital shift at 5 a.m.? Yeah, for some people, that's going to be a lot easier to just be able to post on social media. It's going to feel really passive. And for other people, that is just not going to be their jam.
and that's okay. When I first started my business, it was a big thing for dietitians to be making $10K a month, working just a few hours a week. And that really is not super realistic for most. However, that is all that I saw, and that was all that anybody was posting about when I started my business. When I started, I was still working at the hospital full-time. I was just doing my little side hustle, posting super cringy videos on Instagram. Honestly, guys, if you go back and look at my first year or two of posts, they're honestly really cringy. And I was not making anywhere near $10K a month back then. And I felt so much comparison, and I was so discouraged that my business wasn't like these other dietitians who were online. When the reality is, a lot of them were actually spending way more than just a couple hours a week. They're on sales calls, they're on trainings, they're working with their one-on-one clients, they're doing a lot of marketing, and they are creating a lot of content, which takes quite a bit of time actually. And I spent the first 3 to 4 years of my business really comparing what I was building and what I was trying to be comfortable building. And by that I mean is I don't want to make 10, 20, 30K a month if I have to be away from my children. And unfortunately, that is the reality for a lot of the dietitians that I follow even today. And I've realized that comparison, it truly stole my ability to see my own success in my business. And it took 4 years for me to actually realize that. And again, I didn't realize that until I started regulating my nervous system and being able to create a business that felt good to me and to not feel like I was always comparing my business and myself and my family and everything to everybody else on social media. So if you are stuck in a little bit of a comparison trap with your business, with your family, with your life, I want you to start to redefine what success actually means for you. For myself, last year, I was in a coaching program. So like I said, I had joined that nervous system coaches program. I was in her mastermind, and we actually went to Nantucket for a 3 or 4 day retreat last fall. And I was in the room with these multi 6 to 7 figure business owners, definitely feeling like the small fish in the room, honestly. And it was there that I really realized I don't want to have $1 million company. I don't need that to feel fulfilled. And that's what a lot of the women were chasing, and I think that's amazing for them. But for me, being able to work maybe 10 hours a week and match my former full-time income, working less hours but having the same impact, that's a legitimate win for me. So I want you to have permission to define success in your own terms, not the online highlight reels terms or what your neighbor with the big fancy house, what they're defining as success. I want you to define success on your own terms. Is it being able to be home with your kids every Friday, or being able to sleep in and have slow mornings with your kids before you start to work? Or is it being the best homeschool teacher that you can be for your kids? What does success actually mean and look like for you? And again, a lot of this is going to tie back into how you're able, your nervous system, because nothing is ever going to feel like enough if you are stuck in a fight or flight state. Things will feel scarce. It'll make you scared. And it's so much harder to be grateful for what you have when your nervous system is signaled that it's in danger or that things are not safe. So I have a few action steps for you coming to the end of this episode. I want you to pick a nervous system regulation practice that you can build into each day this week. Are you going to go for a walk without your headphones? Are you going to turn the music down in your car when you're driving in the car by yourself so you can actually hear your own thoughts? Are you going to journal? Are you going to meditate? Are you going to wake up before your kids? I want you to pick one nervous system regulation practice and build it into your week each day. Then I also want you to physically write down what success means to you and separate it from anyone else's terms or numbers. And this is a great thing that we should probably all be doing monthly. But if there are any accounts that you follow, people that you follow, that really triggers a lot of comparison, I want you to unfollow them or mute the account so you're not seeing all of their posts. If it continues to make you feel down on yourself, I don't want you to see it. And sometimes it's as simple as just unfollowing or muting the account. Nervous system support and regulation truly can be your biggest ally as a mom in motherhood, in defining your ambitions outside of motherhood, whether you are building a business or you are working, or defining your ambitions in any way. Having that regulated nervous system is truly going to take you so much further than you even thought possible. That is why inside of the Nourished Moms Collective membership, we have weekly nervous system prompts and highlights to focus on each week so that you are finding what works best for you, what methods your nervous system responds to the most, and what are things that you can actually implement and keep to have the biggest impact in your life. You can learn more about our Nourished Moms Collective membership at nourishedmomscollective.com. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about being a stay-at-home mom versus a working mom or somewhere in between, and how to decide what's actually right for you and for your family.